Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chris Riley with System Source. Thanks so much for joining us today. Hopefully you have some pizza in front of you here, or will very soon, and you can enjoy that. So I'm joined today by John Bussert, who's a storage specialist with on HPE equipment. And so John will be doing the presentation today. So we'll be digging in and taking a look at what some of the new storage technologies are. So if you're considering a storage upgrade and considering an on-prem one as one of your options, then we'll be looking at the on-prem options today from Hewlett-Packard, but there's a number of new twists on that as the technology has progressed. So it's taking a look at the agenda next. So if many of you have HPE Nimble Storage, and so we'll be really kind of looking at one of the things is if you have Nimble Storage today, what's next from the HPE line? And one of the things we'll be taking a particular look at today is their new Alletra MP equipment, and so as well as some of the different ways of purchasing it. So you can now buy on-prem services as a service, like so many other things. So we'll be taking a look at those areas and then having Q&A at the end. So some housekeeping items here first. So the first is that if you don't have your pizza here, just note Julie Dellinger's email address on the screen, and she can help you if it doesn't arrive here shortly. Give them just a few minutes. They may be looking for your home address if you work from home, or looking for your office if you work from the office. Many times food seems to disappear where food seems to disappear in offices, or if your front door to your office is locked, you may want to check on the other side of that locked door. You may see your pizza in the delivery driver's hands on the other side of that door. But if not, just reach out to Julie. During the webinar today, the audio is in presentation mode, so you can hear John and I, but we can't hear you, unfortunately. But we do that so that any noise where participants may be doesn't come through to the whole group. You can reach me, however, on the chat right there in the GoToWebinar menu structure. You can reach me on chat or just drop your questions at any point into the questions tab. We'll save those up to the end for the Q&A. I'll read those out to John. He can then respond. This webinar is recorded, and we'll also send you a copy of the presentation as well. Both of those will be in your hands later on this afternoon. And finally, there's an evaluation at the end. You let us know how we did. That helps us to do better. It also gives you some options for things that may be additional resources that may be helpful to you. And it just takes about a minute or so to complete the evaluation, and we'll choose one of the completed evaluations for a $50 Amazon gift card. Way of saying thanks for taking the time to do that. So a little bit about System Source very briefly. So there are about 70 of us at System Source, been around since 1981, and we work with IT professionals all through this region. And particularly one of the times that people may come to us is when they need to acquire new technology. So while we do in-user computing work, laptops, desktops, printers, the bulk of what we do is in the data center. And that data center can be in all of its modern variants, whether that's going to be on-premise, it's going to be in cloud. For example, most of our cloud work is happening in Microsoft Azure, as well as behind that, Amazon Web Services. And then you have other places where data center equipment can be held. It could be in various hosting centers, whether you rent that equipment or it's your owned equipment, but in those locations. We software as a service. It could be in any number of different locations and different forms, but wherever you put your storage, which we'll focus on today, or you put your compute, we can kind of both design solutions and implement and support solutions across all of those modern data center variants. So we'll be working with things like HPE servers, storage, looking at virtualization from Microsoft or VMware, all the security related solutions that secure these areas like Barracuda, and from Arctic Wolf, be looking at switches and all the wireless work from HPE Aruba and Cisco Meraki and others. So all across those types of things that really help outfit that modern data center and outfit those modern offices. So we touched a little bit on consulting and cloud services. Train under Improve is where we do technical training, both for in-user computing, for end users, as well as IT professionals. And that can be in about three dozen different technology areas or for manufacturers, for example, Cisco training, VMware training, the whole Microsoft training, as well as in technologies like security more broadly, for example, all available on our website and all available remotely as well. Present is where we're putting in modern AV solutions into conference centers, executive briefing centers, auditoriums, houses of worship, all types of areas. So all the large projectors, large screens, all these speaker systems, microphones, all the things that would make Teams rooms, WebEx rooms, Zoom rooms, et cetera, work, plus all those presentation technologies. And finally, where we maintain things on a reactive basis, you call us when things go bump. Under service and support, we're also available after hours. Just follow the voicemail prompts after hours, whether you do or don't have an agreement already in place with us. We're able to help or proactively under managed services. So that's where we have for System Source playing today. We do have some upcoming webinars, quite a number actually. So we're talking next week about key metrics for managing your IT operations. Week after that, we'll be looking at ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot for AI types of topics. Then also later that week, we'll be looking at the challenge of putting Wi-Fi into large or difficult Wi-Fi environments. Think large auditoriums, industrial spaces, stadiums, schools, all those types of larger facilities or very dense facilities, high-rise office buildings, those types of things. So we'll be talking about those types of challenges and how do you kind of get around those types of challenges as well. Then we'll be looking at HPE server technology and specifically at how do you kind of automate server management the week after that on the 7th. So that's what's coming up. I'll drop those registration links into the chat as well. With that, let me go ahead and hand off to John, please.
All right, hello everyone. Again, my name is John Bussart. I work out of what we call a business transformation center, and basically that's fancy talk for saying I run a demonstration facility. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present to you here today. I'm going to show you a little bit on the management of these solutions, but my call to action to you is if you like anything I talk about today, certainly reach out to your friends at System Source and we can get together and I can show you a more detailed approach to these solutions that we're looking at. So today we're going to look at what's next for storage for Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and that would be with the Alletra MP. So HPE rebranded all their storage solutions to Alletra. Now there is the Nimble legacy of solutions that are out there. That'll be a 5,000 as well as a 6,000 base system. And there was also the 3-part legacy of systems as well, and that's matured out into what we now call the Alletra MP storage solution. But fear not, both these solutions are managed from a centralized management plane. So what you manage with one system, you can manage with the other system. So what's new about the Alletra MP? Why is this different? Why is there a numbering scheme after Alletra? That's because MP stands for multi-protocol. So this one piece of hardware can actually support multiple protocols based on the software that's loaded on these systems. So that certainly can be block, and that would be like what would back-end your virtualized environment. There's certainly file file shares and things like that, and there's also an option for object-based storage. So what you want to think is like an S3 compatible type of solution. But this one hardware platform can accommodate those based on what software you put on these solutions. Another way that this differentiates, and specifically we're going to be talking about the B10000 today, and the B would be the block flavor, for example, and X10000 would be the object flavor, but the B10000 has incredible scalability, I'll say. You can scale up as well as out with these systems. Now there is an entry-level system that's got 8 cores in it. It's kind of its own box, but when we start looking at the systems where there's 16 or 32 cores per controller, you can get a whole bunch of scalability. So certainly you can always add extra drive shelves to this system. So there will certainly be a head unit that'll have 2 controllers in it and then hold a certain amount of drives, 24 drives, and then you could add extra drive shelves. So that's why I say you can scale up if you want. to with this system. But you can also scale out, right? So you can go beyond 2 controllers and all the way out to 4 controllers on this system, right? And this is much more than the traditional active-active or active-passive type of configurations you see with traditional storage systems. And basically what that means, even with active-active, is your volume is either owned by one or the other controller. If you want a full performance out of the system, you got to kind of have 2 volumes, one pin to each one of the controllers. They kind of automate that for you in the back end, so you may not notice that. But with these solutions, the controllers are truly clustered architecture, meaning your volume is owned by all of these controllers within this environment. So again, that's why I say you can scale up as well as out. So this solution has 100% uptime availability guarantee within your environment, that opposed to the Nimble, which is still very high. It's 6 nines of availability, but this is a little bit higher, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I will also say that these solutions are very economically focused. So a lot of people looked at Nimble when they needed to look at their hybrid-based systems. So basically, you use just enough flash drives to augment regular spinning disks, and you usually get about 80 to 90% of the performance of an all-flash array. But obviously at a lower cost. But what I'm here to tell you today is there's solutions with this in this product line, and these are all NVMe flash-based solutions, so the utmost of performance. There are solutions in this model line that'll be competitive even with a hybrid-based Nimble-based system, or what we now call an Alletra 5000-based system. I already touched on the unified management with this, so very simple and easy to manage as well as scale for your environment. Right, to continue on with the 100% uptime availability guarantee with this system. So not only is it very resilient as far as controllers and redundancy in the environment, but we also have a lot of options for replication or site-to-site based replication. And basically what that means is we're going to take the data from one of our arrays and either on a scheduled basis or an ongoing basis, copy that data to a secondary array. All right, so that would be a typical site-to-site replication. The solution is much more advanced than that. You can do site to another site if you wanted to. You could do like a hub and spoke type of configuration, so one array replicating out to multiple arrays. They also offer synchronous-based replication. Basically, what that means is as data changes at the main site, it'll automatically change at the secondary site. That actually lends itself well into it. Now, to use that, you need low latency as well as high bandwidth to be able to accommodate that. But so if you're kind of in a metro area, you can usually accomplish something like that. You could even set up what they call peer persistence, and that's basically a stretched VMware cluster. So you're managing, maybe 2 hosts at one site, 2 ESX hosts at one site through vCenter, and you got another 2 hosts at a secondary site through vCenter, all through one VMware cluster. In that type of situation, if a site goes dark for one reason or another, normal VMware HA will kick in and all those virtual machines will start up at the secondary site without Site Recovery Manager or anything else like that kind of baked in. Again, 100% uptime, availability guaranteed with this solution, right? The most resilient solution kind of out on the market today. Now, a lot of you may be saying, hey, wait a minute, maybe I don't have a secondary site where I could put another array. Well, fear not. They also make this solution available up within AWS. It's basically a couple of EC2 incidences up there, right? But it makes a target that you could replicate your on-prem data up into the cloud and reanimate that up within the cloud if you needed to. So it's another solution that you could take available that's a part of this product portfolio. Another thing I want to touch on with this solution, especially with the B10000, is Virtual Lock. So Virtual Lock has been around for a long time with the 3-power legacy of systems. Basically, it came out for regulatory compliances, and basically people used it. So if they put a Virtual Lock on a volume or a snapshot, nobody could delete that. And that was important at one time. Today, it's even more important, especially when you look at ransomware. All right, so today, if you get infected with ransomware, the quickest way to recover your environment is to look to see if you have a valid copy within your array via a snapshot in your environment. Right, so a lot of backup software will integrate that and reanimate those virtual machines and make them available again. That's a quick way to be able to do that. Hackers know this, so when they infect your environment with ransomware, what they like to do is they like to come in and delete all your backups, whether they'll be archival backups or your snapshots on your array. Now, if you use virtual lock, right, in this case, you can lock a volume, or more importantly, probably for our case, a snapshot, so that nobody can delete it. So even if they broke in and figured out you're a super user, username and password, they couldn't delete the volumes. As a matter of fact, if you set a virtual lock on a snapshot or a volume and you went crying to HPE saying, hey, I need to get this deleted, they couldn't even do that for you. It actually takes a factory reset of the entire system and your data would go away, right? But that's a good thing when we start talking about ransomware, people to infect your environment. Now you have valid copies of your data to be able to recover within your environment that have not been tampered with by anybody. Now I want to switch gears a little bit and I want to talk about a DHCI solution from HPE. It's certainly based on this Alletra MP B10000 based system. They do have Nimble solutions as well, but HPE's go forward strategy is with this Alletra Storage MP. DHCI, or what you'll see some of the marketing call Private Cloud Business Edition, or PCBE. Basically, DHCI is a hyperconverged platform that doesn't rely on software-defined storage. So typically when you look at a hyperconverged solution, an HCI solution, right, they'll all rely on software-defined storage. And if you want to understand how that solution is going to perform in your environment, right, you're going to focus right in on the software-defined storage and understand everything you need to know about that. Right. With this solution, we take out that kind of bending point within a hyperconverged solution. We use a physical array, so you get the full performance of an actual array as far as storage, but you don't lose any of the capabilities you get with hyperconverged. So a simple turnkey solution to be able to deploy this solution as well as expand the solution. It also gives you the ability to be able to upgrade the solution, a single button to press, you upgrade the entire environment. It allows you to be able to scale easily as well. So all the value of hyperconverged, but without any of the loss of benefits. And all you really need to do is purchase an array that's built for this solution, as well as a couple servers, and then it'll get you up and running in your environment. This will also be more cost in line with what you expect instead of some of the premiums that are paid for hyperconverged solutions that are out there. One of the things I'm going to touch on in a little bit, so certainly this is today and absolutely a VMware vSphere solution, but in a little bit, in some time, it's going to end up being a HPE virtualization solution, or VM Essentials solution. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we kind of go through this. But today you can buy an Alletra MP as a part of a DHCI solution, or what they'll call Private Cloud Business Edition. And the reason why sometimes their marketing material calls it Private Cloud Business Edition, because that's the management tile you use to manage this up within the cloud. All right, another feature with this hyperconverged solution, this DHCI or Private Cloud Business Edition solution, is you can scale independently. So you can scale storage separately from compute. Traditionally, when we look at hyperconverged platforms, if you need to expand out your environment because you need more resources, storage and compute are both going to come along for the ride. So if you just need a storage, you're going to get compute. If you just need a compute, you're going to get storage. But with this solution, we can actually scale out storage independently of compute inside the environment. You can also, because it's a physical array, you can partition out storage in that environment, present it outside your hyperconverged environment to maybe like another Windows system that might need a little more space. And that's something you cannot do with traditional hyperconverged environments. So I hinted across it a little bit. So HPE has a new hypervisor. It's called HPE's VM Essentials. It is meant to directly compete with VMware's vSphere solution. Although VMware's been around for a while, they've got a lot of features and functionality that we will not necessarily have. But this solution certainly does have what put virtualization on the map for every IT administrator out there. So this solution certainly does live migration of virtual machines between those, like a vMotion type of of thing. It certainly does high availability, meaning if one of my hosts fails, all those virtual machines will power up on a secondary host. It does load balancing of virtual machines, so sort of like a DRS feature. It's got snapshots, it's got backups built in, it's got everything that people would need for a fully featured virtualized environment, and it's economically priced as well, so it's priced per socket inside an environment. So that's something that's of interest. Now, what I do want to tell you right here and right now is that VM Essentials does support the Alletra MP B10000 today. So you could buy that solution for a B10000 today, right? You could use this solution with your existing Gen 11 based servers today, right? What they don't support today is the Private Cloud Business Edition or the DHCI solution today, but it is coming shortly. So as a matter of fact, I expect that to be lit up any moment now, certainly within the next month or so. So this is another solution that's available that can work with these other pieces that we have. All right, so keep that in mind. And finally, I want to talk about the Data Services Cloud Console. So this is the management pane up within the cloud that allows you to manage your on-prem hardware. And kind of the analogy I like to give for this is today, I suppose all of us have doorbells on our house, the old school type of doorbells. And if somebody came up to your house and rang your doorbell, you would have to be home to be able to interact with that doorbell and be able to see who's on the outside of your system. But today it's kind of a little bit more hip to have some of these smart doorbells on out there, something like a Ring doorbell. So you could be anywhere in the world and somebody could come up to your house and ring that doorbell and you could tell who is out there. You can interact with that solution, right? Because it's cloud managed. So that's really the direction that HP is going with on-prem hardware, is we want to cloud manage your on-prem hardware, the environment. So you don't need to be local to be able to manage that solution, right? And we manage that through what we call a Data Services Cloud Console. So instead of going into this in the deal, I'm actually going to show this to you really quickly. So I'm going to back out of here. Let me go up here. So here I am up within the GreenLake Cloud platform. All right, so GreenLake, if you look at the cloud as being an experience and less of a destination, HPE's GreenLake platform it gives you that to your on-prem hardware. And that certainly can be a cost model, so you can pay for what you utilize on a monthly basis, and HPE certainly does offer that. You could do a CapEx purchase as well and still use this to be able to manage your environment. So for example, if we look down here, now there's a lot of solutions, but like for example, Compute Ops, I can manage on-prem ProLine servers. Aruba Networking Central allows me to manage on-prem HPE networking equipment. Data Services is where I manage storage, and that's what I'm going to go into today. Right, and up here I've got a variety of service. Now with an Alletra MP, you're going to get block storage as well as Data Ops Manager. Data Ops Manager is for managing the array itself, right? And block storage is for actually creating volume. Sometimes those are two separate job roles within an organization. It is separate. There's also Private Cloud Business Edition for managing those hyper-converged solutions, those DHCI solutions that I was talking about. I don't think we're going to get that today, but I do want to show you a little bit. I'm going to go into Data Ops Manager real quick. All right, you can see I'm managing 4 systems, 40 volumes, a bunch of hosts, right? I don't have the X10000 today, or so I don't have any buckets or shares. But if we look down here, this one management platform, I'm managing a variety of systems. So there's my Alletra MPB 10,000, but you can see I also have Nimble as well as Primera. And up here I have an Alletra 6000, which is so what I will say is if you're using a 5th generation Nimble solution, so something like an EF40 or an HF40 or something like that, right? You have the ability to be able to use this platform if you wanted to. And over here I have my Nimble interface, right? If your firmware is up to date and you have support on it, you can go under administration and customization here, and then Data Services Cloud Console, and you have a subscription key already. And you can import this into this environment and use this management interface today, right? And that's up here, right? I can manage all this, but it comes with the other solutions that are out there, right? Here we can see my latency, IFS throughput. So some of this stuff, if you've used Nimble, you would have to go into InfoSight to be able to get some of this information, but now it's at my fingertips up here. We can see the volumes, we can see how filled I am. If I go down here, I can see virtual machines, read latency, write latency. As a matter of fact, I could select one of these virtual machines. It's going to open up another page for us, and we're going to get some interesting information on this virtual machine. So I could see the memory configuration, CPU count, power state, capacity utilization, performance. But if I scroll down a little bit further, I can see how this solution is interconnected within my environment. So here's the VM itself, the 2 virtual hard drives, the data store within VMware, the 2 hosts it can go across, the volume itself, as well as the system over here. And over here is a timeline. So I could reverse in timeline, click anywhere along this timeline, roll back in time and see how the configuration looked back at another time. So that's kind of nice. A lot of this stuff, again, we used to need to go into InfoSight to be able to get, but now again, it's at our fingertips, right? And I could do things like select the volume itself, and it'll bring me over into that information within this environment as well. And again, we're going to see some topology insights as soon as this populates down below as to how this is configured. I think we're going to move on real quick. So let's go back on over to, we're going to go from Data Ops Manager over to block storage. And I'm just going to create some real quick storage in here, create a volume and present it in the environment. So I'm going to go over here. We're going to go down to storage. All right, I'm going to click the plus sign, and I'm going to select my storage within my environment I want to provision to. So I'm going to do the Alletra MP B10000. I'm going to select my workload. I'm just going to do a file server real quick. We're going to give it a volume name. I'm just going to call it delete me so we can see it real quick. I'm going to make 1 volume, and I'll make, I don't know, half a terabyte or half a terabyte. Right, I won't put it on a host just yet. I'm going to select the snapshot schedule. We'll do once every 30 days. I'm going to click continue. And now this is going to use intent-based provisioning, and it's going to look at all the storage systems that I have and make a decision as to how I want to provision that. Right, I could certainly change it if I wanted to, but we'll use our Alletra MP. I'm going to click continue again. And it's going to come over here and it's going to give me some other features as far as how I want to set this up as far as quality of service. Right, there's my volume name. Quality of service is kind of interesting because now I have the ability, say you have like a noisy database server sucking the life out of your storage system. Now I could limit that if I felt like it, right? I can also do chargeback based on performance as well, right? If I go down a little bit further, we can see those virtual lock settings down here. I'm going to click continue again, and then I'm going to click submit. All right, notice that this is being provisioned. Right, and we can go up into our Alletra MP array. Now notice, this is a different management interface than the Nimble interface is, right? So they're not hard, but they're 2 different learning curves, whereas the Data Services Cloud Console unifies the management between these 2 systems. As a matter of fact, if we go in and we look at the storage, go to virtual volume sets, we'll see that volume has been created. So that's my quick overview on these solutions. If you want to know more, certainly reach out to your friends at System Source. I think I'll expand this on out, and I think we're off to Q&A if there's any that are out there.
Thank you very much, John. We appreciate the information. These 30-minute sessions are very jam-packed and lots of information. So don't have any questions at this point. So we're going to say thank you very much to John as well as to each of you. We appreciate your spending the time with us today and getting a little bit more storage information. The evaluation will be coming to you shortly. If you need some additional information, there's some options there. And we appreciate your time. Hope you have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you.